All right, so it is 10 a.m. and we are going to start our meeting. I assume it's good to go. But good morning, everyone. My name is Lorraine Cunningham, and I'm the chair of TransLink board, and I'd like to welcome you to TransLink's June 2025 open board meeting. Thank you all for joining us virtually today. And at this time, I'd like to call our meeting to order. I'd like to start by saying that we respect the Indigenous nations within the Metro Vancouver region and acknowledge all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people for their continued resilience, sustainable stewardship, and as active members of the community for generations to come. We recognize that in planning and managing the region's transportation system, we have a role to play in supporting reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. June is National Indigenous History Month, an important time to honor and celebrate the diverse societal contributions, traditions, and cultures of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people across Canada. You may have noticed that many of our board members have added a virtual background to our screens with art created by Musqueam artist Gracie Liu. With the theme of Communication of the Raven, the art reflects the raven's unique powers of communication and its remarkable ability to change and transform. When ravens come together, they symbolize meaningful consultation and engagement rooted in honesty, integrity, and respect. While this month provides a dedicated opportunity to honor the stories and achievements and resilience of Indigenous peoples, it's important we carry these learnings with us throughout the year. On a personal note, I just returned from Bella Bella on our Central Coast, where I attended a family feast at the invitation of the chief of the Heiltsuk Nation. I was touched to be invited to this special celebration and to be immersed in the many traditions and cultural celebrations. I'd like to now transition to our agenda. Before we proceed, are there any items on the consent agenda that a director wishes to remove from consent for discussion? Seeing none, I will now introduce Darlene Hyde, who will present today's safety moment. Darlene? Darlene, you're on mute. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a personal story. As a citizen, I'm increasingly concerned about my personal safety and the safety of my surroundings. We know that the issue of public safety is continually in the local, regional, and national news, and the issue is becoming more acute with every passing day. I'm also a TransLink super user. I use the transit system for most of my travel needs, for business, shopping, personal, sports, events, entertainment throughout the region. I prefer transit to driving. Is my first choice when getting around. And I often travel alone. And so and while I do that, I'm often doing informal market research on the system while I'm traveling. So when I'm on SkyTrain, I am heartened, I have to say, to see TransLink customer service representatives and the transit police community safety officers on the trains, in the stations, and in the immediate vicinity. They have a very noticeable presence. And I'm happy to hear from the chief that the transit police will be increasing its recruitment of officers in the coming years. So I personally have a great deal of confidence when traveling on the system for my own personal safety. I feel I can count on the system not only to get me where I want to go, but that I get there safely and in one piece. So I would urge any member of the public who is using transit and who has any safety concerns to contact a representative of TransLink and/or the transit police. They are there to help and they are focused on your safety. Thank you.
Darlene, thank you very much for that. So we have a lot of items to discuss today. So let's first proceed with our public delegates. We have two, and the first one is Daryl Lim, and we're going to invite Daryl to join us. Daryl, can you hear me?
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Daryl Lim.
Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So my name is Daryl Lim. Yes, I'm a commuter Well, there are two issues I would like to bring before the TransLink board. So what happened is that lately I noticed there has not been, a lot of people are sneaking through the fare gate or tailgating, and I felt that I think there are signs around saying that did you pay your transit fare, failing to pay, or some using the wrong fare can result in $173 fine, which I think that the fine the ticket should be raised to $250 for the first offense, and second offense should be at $300, and the third offense and subsequent should be $350. Because I felt that to raise it because, or it should be more deterrent, or else people are just keep on doing that. And also I felt that another thing is that there has not been lately transit police around ticketing people. So another issue is regarding the transit security. Now, transit security only have limited powers. They still have to be referred to the transit police. So I felt that maybe should abolish the transit security. Instead, the money should be used to hire more transit police, as they have every power to arrest a person and charge them in court rather than to be using the transit security, because I felt that transit security only got limited power. So that is what I'm thinking is a waste of money. These are the two issues which I would like to address. Now, I have seen that lately many people have been fare evasion, especially people who are trying to tailgate people or banning through the fare gate, and I felt that a lot of them get away with it. And I would say that I have an altercation with one of the passengers. Subsequently, I was telling her, she was saying something to me, and then I was telling her to wait here while I call the transit police. And it takes a long time, but she ran away, but it takes a long time for the transit police to arrive. So I felt that maybe instead of using the transit security, all the funding should be used to employ more officers to address this issue. At least they ticket the person from time to time, and then they will be on record. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daryl, for your ideas, and we'll definitely take some of those things into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Daryl. So I'm going to invite Nathan Davidovich to join us. Nathan, can you hear me? Thank you very much, Daryl, for your ideas and some of those things. Nathan, can you hear us? Thank you, Daryl. So I'm going to invite Nathan Davidovich.
Nathan, if you're able to turn off your streaming on the background, I think that's the noise we hear.
Hello.
Good morning,
Hello?
Nathan. Nathan, you're with us now. So if you can start
Hello?
Do you
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Nathan.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a new 5G phone, so I wasn't sure if it's
Okay. Yeah,
working
we can hear
properly.
you. We can hear you great.
Yeah, thank you, Chair and members of the board. Yeah, my name is Nathan Davidovich. First, I would like to thank the Chair for sending a letter dated June the 9th, 2025 about TransLink governance. It is on page 80 of the June 26th meeting of the Mayor's Council. There were many promises by former Minister George Heyman, but he did not implement one of them. Now, it is the same with the current Minister, Mike Fernwood. He and Joy McPhail promised and promised, but kept changing their mind in the early 2000s. We do not have pro-transit ministers in BC, as most of our premiers are pro-cars. Over the last 50 years, we had only 2 BC premiers that were pro-transit, Dave Barrett and Mike Harcourt. Now, item 13.3, comparing transit fares rates across Canada, larger urban region. Yes, TransLink average fares are the highest in Canada. An unfair three-zone system makes our fares the highest. There are many inaccuracies and omissions in the TransLink staff report. That's why I recommended you instruct your CEO to stop wasting staff time and resources and ask Statistics Canada to write a comprehensive independent report on transit data, which will include transit fares in Canada. In the meantime, read some of the good reports on transit equity by Todd Littman of the Victoria Transport Policy Institute, as well as the APTA September 2024 Transit Equity Report. None of those reports are mentioned in the TransLink staff report. There is also no mention of the reduced fares in Southern Ontario that were implemented in February of 2024. Revenue from fares as percentage of total operating costs, Vancouver used to be number 2 after Toronto, but because of the reductions of fares last year in Ontario, Vancouver now is the number 1 city in cost recovery, and after the unfair July 1, 2025 increases, cost recovery will be around 50%. You can also see the public transportation fare database by APTA. If TransLink were in the U.S., you were denied many grants by the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Transit Administration, as TransLink does not abide by many equities criteria, and your CEO can confirm that. From CUTA, January 11, 2023, increasing fares can be counterproductive if our goal is greater affordability, especially for Canadians who already feel squeezed by inflation. Also, as of this morning, TransLink IT department failed us again by not posting the April 2025 data. Statistics Canada already posted that last Thursday, 19th of June. He's sleeping at the helm. The CEO. Who is in charge of the IT department? What's going on here? Anyhow, thanks very much for your listening to me.
Thank you very much, Nathan, for joining us today. All right. So that concludes the delegates that we have for the meeting today. So we're going to move on to the CEO report. So Kevin, I invite you to present your report. So thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. Today, I'll be providing updates on the recently approved 2025 investment plan, our annual transit service performance reports, and the 2023 trip diary. I'll also cover our efforts to standardize goods movement throughout the region, some fun summer initiatives and partnerships, and how we're helping customers reach their favorite outdoor destinations this season. But before I start my report, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the tragic incident that occurred near the Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal in May. This heartbreaking event has deeply impacted many people, and my thoughts and the thoughts of the TransLink organization are with the victims, their families, and all those affected. Next slide, please. As I spoke about earlier at this morning's annual general meeting, the 2025 investment plan was approved in April. And this plan provides operational funding through 2027 and supports much needed overcrowding relief across the system. It also does take really important steps towards addressing TransLink's structural deficit, reinforcing transit as a strategic investment in BC's future. And starting as early as September, customers will begin to see the largest bus service expansion since 2018, including increased service on 50 routes. The plan also advances key initiatives. It funds the next phase of design work for the 3 bus rapid transit corridors, increases capacity for existing West Coast Express trips, enables more HandyDART service, and helps speed up bus service by extending our bus speed and reliability program for another year. In addition, it also boosts funding for the major road network to help address road condition deterioration while continuing investment in walking, cycling, and road safety infrastructure. And through this plan, everyone benefits from transit riders to drivers and the broader economy through a more connected, reliable, and well-maintained transit system. And while the 2025 investment plan allows us to begin key improvements and advance the Access for Everyone plan, I just want to reiterate, it does not resolve our long-term financial challenges. And so we're very grateful for the support we've received so far. We acknowledge that. As our region continues to grow, we'll continue working with our government partners to find a long-term sustainable solution. Next slide, please. In May, we released the 2024 Transit Service Performance Review and the 2024 HandyDART Service Performance Review. And these reports provide a clear picture of how customers use the transit network over the past year and how we adjusted services to better meet their needs. In fall 2024, more than 420,000 people relied on transit each weekday to access jobs, schools, and daily activities. Our region continues to be a leader in public transit, ranking second in per-person ridership in Canada, just behind Greater Montreal. Annual transit journeys returned to a steadier pace of growth, reaching 240 million in 2024. That's a 3% increase over 2023. And again, growth was strongest in areas where population growth and transit investment go hand in hand, such as Surrey and Langley. The 2024 TSPR also shows that targeted service reallocations have really helped us respond to the rising demand that we're seeing. Still, overcrowding remains a challenge on some high growth routes, highlighting the continued need for transit investment and long-term planning to support a future-ready network. Next slide, please. Turning to HandyDART, the 2024 review reinforces just how vital this service is to the region. In total, nearly 1.2 million HandyDART trips were delivered last year, excluding the 18-day service disruption due to job action in September. We saw trip volumes rise by 6.2%. I'm pleased to report that overall customer satisfaction remained amongst the highest of all of our transit modes, scoring an average 8.8 out of 10. I'll note that the average overall score for HandyDART service provided by supplemental taxis was 7.8 out of 10, which mirrors the satisfaction levels we see for our conventional bus service. These results speak to the commitment and hard work of the HandyDART team, who continue to deliver essential high-quality service to customers across the region. Next slide, please. In May, we also released the results of our 2023 Trip Diary. Conducted every 5 years, the Trip Diary is our most comprehensive survey of travel patterns across Metro Vancouver, capturing where, how, and why people move throughout the region. And this data informs TransLink and our regional partners' planning work, supporting the long-term goals set out in Transport 2050. And it's really a key resource for forecasting travel demand and shaping future decisions. Since the last survey in 2017, the region has seen a meaningful shift toward more sustainable modes of travel. Transit, walking, and cycling now account for 30% of all trips. That's a 4% increase. At the same time, personal vehicle trips have declined by 5%, and vehicle kilometers traveled are down 5.1%. This shift, along with slower overall travel demand growth, points to changing travel behaviors and growing support for active and sustainable transportation options. Full findings from the 2023 Trip Diary, including an interactive data visualization tool, are available on our website. And together, these insights really ensure that we continue to align our services with the evolving needs of the people we serve in the region. Next slide, please. TransLink is also leading the development of new regional trucking standards to harmonize the size, weight, and permitting requirements for commercial vehicles across Metro Vancouver. And currently, different rules in each municipality cause delays and confusion for carriers. The new standards, already adopted by most local governments, will create a single definition of heavy truck and streamline permits for oversized and overweight vehicles. These simplified standards will help support safer roads, reduce damage to infrastructure, and help goods move more efficiently across the region and beyond. And the new Regional Permit Policies and Procedures Manual is available on our website. Next slide, please. Of course, we're once again helping Metro Vancouverites get to their favorite summer destinations. Starting June 23rd, we're adding seasonal service on 13 routes to improve access to popular outdoor spots across the region. And we're bringing back a customer favorite, the bike bus. With space for up to 10 bikes per bus, this special service makes it easier for cyclists to travel between Bridgeport Station and the Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal on Fridays, weekends, and holidays from June 27th to September 1st. We're also adding earlier morning northbound trips throughout the week for two of our busiest routes, the R1 and R6 rapid buses in Delta and Surrey. Speaking of the R6, I'm so proud to share that the Scott Road rapid bus route was recently awarded the 2024 Bill Curtis Award for Outstanding Transportation Project by the Greater Vancouver chapter of the Institute of Transportation Engineers. In just 1 year, the R6 has become Metro Vancouver's second busiest rapid bus route and the busiest south of the Fraser, with about 16,000 weekday boardings. Rapid bus routes like the R6 really do show the power of fast, reliable, and frequent transit to support growing communities. As always, we're going to continue to monitor ridership across the network. We're going to adjust service where it's needed most as more people choose transit. Next slide, please. We also have several exciting initiatives coming up this summer. We have partnered with Patina Brewing Company to launch a limited edition craft beer, the Platform Pilsner. And this initiative not only supports local businesses, but generates revenue in a new and engaging way for us. That's now available at Patina Brewing in Port Coquitlam and at select Metro Vancouver stores. For those eager to explore unique attractions and hidden gems across the region by transit, our Next Stop Summer campaign will feature a series of curated self-guided tours. Transit riders can collect stamps in their very own transit passport, tracking their adventures for a chance to win prizes. More details will be shared with customers later today. You'll also find us at community events throughout the summer, including 9 car-free days in partnership with municipalities across the region. And of course, we will be at the PNE. Events like these really give us a really great opportunity to connect directly with the community, to share information and build trust and excitement around taking transit this summer. Next slide, please. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you all so much for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Kevin, thank you very much for that report. Lots of good information in there. Any questions from any board members in regards to Kevin's report? All right, seeing none, I think you're off the hook, Kevin. So I'm going to ask Sandy Zane to provide his report from the BC Rapid Transit Company.
Thank you, Chair Cunningham, and I'm happy to share with the board some of our latest initiatives at the BCRTC. As usual, if we can go to the next slide, I organize my reports by our 3 overriding priorities at BCRTC: delivering excellent service every single day of the week, achieving readiness for our future ambitious expansion plan, and making sure that our people and culture are doing well, healthy, motivated, and fulfilled. I'll provide updates under each of these headlines. If we can move to the next slide. Service on a daily basis remains our overriding responsibility. We want to provide safe, reliable, clean rail transit service for our customers. This is what they expect, and this is what we strive to deliver every single day. We measure ourselves with these key performance indicators and the metrics. This is just a sample of how we measure ourselves. The smaller circles are our targets or our performance in the previous quarter. The bigger circles are our most recent performance metrics. Really happy to share with the board that we remain on track to meet, in many cases exceed, our key performance indicators, and where we fall a little bit short, we pay a lot of attention to making sure that we recover our metrics. You'll notice a slight decline in elevating devices availability. For example, compared to our target, our teams are on that to make sure that escalators and elevators are available as much as possible for our customers. You'll also notice on-time performance is a little bit lower than where we'd like it to be. We are taking very deep dives into the reasons behind that to rectify what we call OTP, or on-time performance, and bring it back to the 95.2% that we would like to achieve. Next slide, please. We have some really good news and success stories on our partner programs with West Coast Express and Canada Line. We often talk about the Expo and Millennium lines. I wanted to share with the board that ridership on West Coast Express this year is up dramatically, 14%. Perhaps as we see more return to the office in downtown Vancouver, we're seeing that rise in ridership on West Coast Express, which is great to see. Also on Canada Line, we are seeing robust growth of 2.5% this year and 10 million boardings being recorded on Canada Line. So great to see that activity to and from Richmond and to and from the airport is continuing on a robust growth trend. Next slide, please. In order to be able to provide this service, maintaining a state of good repair and maintaining our assets in good condition is absolutely essential. Some of the ongoing work is rail grinding to make sure our rail is in a state of good repair and that we minimize our noise impact. We will be starting in the middle of July a major switch replacement in the Surrey section of the Expo line. That will cause a little bit of disruption for our customers using Gateway, Surrey Central, and King George stations. So please allow some extra time starting in mid-July if you're using that section of the Expo line. Our customers are seeing structural recoating, roof replacement type works, and also continued escalator replacement type works at various stations. Those activities are sometimes disruptive. We always thank our customers for their patience, but it's essential that we stay on top of state of good repair to be able to deliver excellent service on SkyTrain. Next slide. Moving on to our Achieving Future Readiness objective. This is where our teams are getting ready for a very exciting future at SkyTrain. Coming soon, within a matter of weeks, will be the introduction of our first new Mark V train into revenue service. So the first train will be coming into service within the coming month. This will represent a huge milestone for BCRTC and for TransLink. This is a longer, more comfortable train experience, 25% additional capacity to serve our customers on the Expo line, and we're very excited to roll this new train into service. The first one will enter service soon. It will be followed right after by many more Mark V trains entering service. As you can see from the slide, we have at least 3 other trains almost ready to go in various stages of testing, and those will be entering service this year as well, typically at about 1 month or better in intervals between the trains. More trains are being built for us in facilities in Kingston and in Quebec, and those will be shipped over as the trains enter service. By having the Mark Vs being added to our fleet, it allows us to retire the old Mark I trains, which have seen a tremendous amount of service over the 40-year history of SkyTrain. Next slide, please. In order for us to accommodate our future and our future trains, a big part of what we need to do is expand our operations and maintenance facilities. What we call OMC4, or Operations and Maintenance Center 4, is beginning to take shape. It's a very exciting time at that site. This is located between Braid and Lougheed stations. A lot of activity on that site. Our customers who are riding the train can actually look down and see the work happening there. We are building a new overpass. Guideway columns are going up. These will connect the site to the elevated guideway for SkyTrain. You'll see foundation work and some disruption and single tracking as we reconfigure the pocket track work to allow us to enter trains to and from that site. So this will be one of our most major new infrastructure projects to come online in the coming years, and it's terrific to see that site beginning to take shape. Next slide, please. Our two major extension projects are also well underway. These are being delivered by the province. Both are on track. The Broadway subway project will extend the Millennium Line from VCC Clark all the way to Arbutus. We're now in the station construction, track and escalator installation phase, and all the tunnels are being outfitted with the track and the infrastructure needed to accommodate train service. Very exciting work happening along Fraser Highway, south of the Fraser, for the Surrey Langley SkyTrain project. Customers and users of Fraser Highway can see the guideway foundations being poured and the precast concrete now being visible and being brought to the site. Terrific to see both these projects progressing. We expect the Broadway subway project to be concluded in 2027 and the Surrey Langley SkyTrain in 2029. Next slide, please. Moving on to our people. As I always like to say, none of this happens without the BCRTC staffing, our dedicated teams, be it in operations, maintenance, control, our SkyTrain attendants, or our office staff. Looking after this team, making sure they're safe, feeling fulfilled and motivated is a priority. I'm very happy to share with the board our injury rate improved by 32% from the last quarter of last year. Our teams jump on every incident to understand what corrective actions are needed, and they are closing corrective actions at a very good pace, which was great to see. Our passenger injuries, we never like to see them, but they're tracking better than target. These are typically when a train breaks suddenly and we cause some injuries on board the trains. We keep track of those. We try to mitigate them as best as we can. And we have a safety mandate refresh ongoing at BCRTC to make sure our safety team is well equipped and resourced for our bigger extended service that is coming our way. Next slide. Staying on the safety theme, it was essential that on April 28th, we commemorated the day of mourning. This was a somber occasion at BCRTC where we all gathered and reminded ourselves of the importance of safety and reminded colleagues in the industry throughout British Columbia who have either been injured or lost their lives due to workplace incidents. We take the moment seriously to remind ourselves of the importance of keeping safety top of mind every day on every shift so we can all go home safely. And next slide, please. Celebrating who we are and what we do is really also an important part of engagement and our culture. This is our 40th anniversary, remarkably, and it's so pleasing to know we have employees at SkyTrain who have been with us for 40 years, and we're taking the time this year to celebrate those employees and just celebrate a terrific history that we have and a foundation to build on for the future. In that middle picture, you see our work crews busy donating used work equipment. And we do that every year as our crews renew their work equipment and their boots. We donate the old but still functional boots to those less fortunate. And that's something we're very proud of contributing to. And the last picture on the right there, it's a small story, but it really spoke to me about the dedication of our staff. Natasha is a SkyTrain attendant, and she is an amateur artist, and she's taken to drawing beautiful pictures, all representing the SkyTrain environment. And she's decorating crew rooms with her artwork. And when that was spotted, we decided to celebrate her works. And one of those paintings is now hanging outside my office. It was a very small example of the passion that our employees bring to their work and how they want to make the environment better and celebrate SkyTrain at the same time. And I believe that's my last slide, Chair. Happy to take any questions from the board members.
Thank you, Zanny. I think you have the best job right now, next to Kevin, where you get to have all the fun stuff going on. And that's not to say that the bus company isn't important, but you've got some pretty cool stuff happening. So any questions for Zanny on his report? Jen.
Thank you for the report, Zanny. I wanted to commend you for the 32% reduction in injury rate. That's really quite remarkable. And my question in following up on that is, Are there particular factors or learnings that we can take away from that great outcome and anything that we can apply to the rest of the organization as a shared learning?
Thank you. Great question. We do see ups and downs during the year with our injuries. So we will strive to keep those rates heading in the right direction. One thing we did late last year was a campaign to focus on ergonomic injuries. We noticed that a lot of our injuries were muscular due to overreaching or bending in the wrong way or lifting activities, which maybe were not cognizant of ergonomic factors. So we launched a campaign the last quarter of last year to remind our staff, remind our employees to just be very conscious of ergonomics, of movements, of making sure they're not overreaching or overstretching. That may have contributed to the improved rates we saw in Q1 of this year. It's something we see in the stats. Most of our injuries are fairly minor, but yet they are injuries, and we don't want to see them happening. So we'll continue to double down on that message. And with the one thing which we're finding works best is when safety is owned, not just by our safety group, but by every supervisor, every manager, and every employee, and re-emphasizing that message. That seems to be the best way forward for us to reduce our injury rates. You're on mute, Chair.
Sorry. Any other questions for Sandy? Oh, Tracy.
Yeah, Sandy, I just was wondering if you could give us a little bit more context on what's driving the lower than desired on-time performance, if there's any issues there.
Yes, thank you. Great question. We have, as you know, we are hiring, we're expanding, and so we are hiring new SkyTrain attendants to join our team. When we hire SkyTrain attendants, it means we train them on the line as to how to operate, and in case we need them to intervene in train operations. That takes up track time, and it tends to impact our on-time performance. We also are running the single tracking for that OMC4 project I mentioned between Braid and Lougheed. That has created a pinch point in our operations, which has made moving trains through that area very difficult, and very slight delays tend to cascade. So one train being slightly delayed is impacting more than usual number of trains because of the pinch point in the track. There are a few other examples, but those two have been hindering our OTP, and we're operationally zeroing in on how can we be as efficient as possible to recover the OTP that we're losing.
Okay, thanks very much for that.
Thanks, Tracy. Any further questions for Sandy? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask Randy Helmer on behalf of the Coast Mountain Bus Company to give us his report.
Thank you, Chair Cunningham. And I'm going to be so bold to suggest that Chief Muir and I have the third most interesting job in the enterprise. So good morning, members of the board, Mr. Quinn, members of the public. I'm here representing Mike McDaniel today, and I'm happy to share the President's report from CMBC. Next slide, please. So I have a number of topics to share with you today. You'll see the agenda on the screen. We'll start off with a bus and HandyDART service update. A couple of items from CBus. We're going to do a customer experience focused pilot, and this one's a bus stop solar light project. An update from our operator training on how they're supporting neurodivergent passengers. An anniversary to celebrate. And lastly, an update on where we're nurturing our trades pipeline. Next slide, please. So first off, we'll take a look at our bus and HandyDART service performance. So on the conventional side, CMBC delivered 98% of service compared to budget. On-time performance is broken down by bus regularity for frequent service and bus punctuality for less frequent service. For this past quarter, we came in at 80 and 82% respectively. And just to add a little bit of context to that, studies have shown that when a bus service is more frequent, customers care more that the bus come in regular intervals versus the less frequent service where customers care more about the bus arriving at a certain time. So at CMBC, we measure the two services differently. For frequent service, it's 5 buses or more per hour and is measured by headway adherence or essentially regularity. In the infrequent service, that's less than 5 buses per hour, and it's measured by if the bus departs on time. So for instance, at 9:15 a.m. or punctuality. And turning to service changes, Kevin mentioned them in his presentation. We have summer service that we started on Monday. We have decreased services to the school and increased the services to warm weather hotspots, such as beaches, lakes, and other popular destinations. And we're also bringing back the bike bus, and Kevin talked about that a little earlier. For HandyDART in Q1 2025, 98% of requested trips were delivered. And as always, this does exclude client cancellations. And lastly, on-time performance was 90%, which is on target. Next slide, please. So moving along, I have a couple of updates regarding CBus. As far as ridership goes, first of all, at the end of May, TransLink published the Transit Service Performance Review, and we were pleased to see that CBus ridership grew by 5% rather in 2024. So the average Monday to Friday boardings were up over 16,000, and Saturday boardings were even higher. The CBus continues to be not just a method for commuting or getting from A to B, but also a popular sightseeing trip for tourists. And the crew over at CBus is already starting to see the usual summer uptick in tourist numbers now that we are into June. The CBus team is also planning for a project to replace the engines on the Burrard Chinook. This work's expected to take approximately 2 months, and it's going to be done at Point Hope Shipyard in Victoria, and that starts early in the new year. To ensure we're being as efficient as possible with both cost and the vessel's time away from service, we're going to combine the replacement project with regular inspections that must take place every 5 years, according to Transport Canada regulations. So this includes dry docking, hull examination, right angle drive changes, and various other regulatory expenses, or inspections rather. We're looking forward to getting these new engines into action, as after the replacement, the vessel's emissions will decrease as a result of this. In addition, this is all part of an overall strategy to ensure our existing CBus fleet is sustainable for engine replacements over a longer period of time, as we do replace engines every 30,000 hours. Next slide, please. Next, I have just one more CBus update. So on the slide, what you see is a photo of a new passenger counting system that's being tested at the CBus North Terminal. The scope of this pilot is to design, test, and install a counting system at both North and South CBus terminals that will essentially provide greater than 99% accuracy for vessel occupancy at each sailing, and this level is required by Transport Canada. The current system that you may be familiar with involves turnstiles that are approximately 25 years old, and they're reaching the end of their service life. In addition to enhancing the customer boarding experience, the new system would prevent passengers from boarding the vessel when they're full. This will also provide real-time passenger counting data to the CBus captain and allow for enhanced data analysis within CMBC and TransLink. So this is the first project of its kind that we know of in the marine industry in Canada. Next slide, please. Here's another pilot project that is focused on improving our customer experience. So in April and May, CMBC and TransLink, we ran a pilot of a solar-powered push-button lighting at 4 bus stops in Surrey and Delta. So this 8-week pilot project was developed in direct response to customer feedback, and the goal was for the testing to help us understand the lighting's impact on safety, visibility, and the overall customer experience. And customers and transit operators were invited to share their feedback through a short survey, and we're happy to see that the results were very positive. Now that the trial period is over, the feedback is being analyzed and the team is determining the next steps. And just in case you're wondering, the lights are still available for customers to activate at these 4 stops. Just because the pilot's over doesn't mean that we've turned out the lights. Next slide, please. So moving over to the training side of things, you may recall that Mike shared some information on a partnership that CMBC was forging with Pacific Autism Family Network at a board meeting last year. Now the partnership has produced a training video for transit operators on how to support our bus passengers who might be neurodivergent. The video is titled Supporting Your Neurodivergent Passengers and is supported by interviews with actors and advocates from the neurodivergent community. It uses common bus-related scenarios to give transit operators tips and techniques for supporting neurodivergent customers. So earlier this year, the video was introduced into CMBC's one-day refresher training program. And our existing operators go through that every 5 years. It was also added to both conventional community shuttle new operator training. So the video has been very well received by our operators, and the training department is already investigating the development of similar videos specific to vulnerable customer groups for introduction in 2026. Next slide, please. Here we have some birthday wishes. The CMBC Environmental Department is celebrating its 30th birthday in July. And since its creation, the department's focus area has grown to include wastewater management, energy conservation, and recycling to help CMBC and the enterprise reduce its impact on the environment. The Environmental Department has many accomplishments, including launching their energy management program, introducing a vehicle idling policy, and innovative ways to reduce our waste and recycling items like bus driver seats shown here, trolley bus carbon inserts, and used work boots, and many other successes. So from award-winning projects to implementing policies that we're sure that we're meeting or exceeding industry standards and creating a culture that supports sustainability in the workplace and beyond, there's an awful lot to celebrate. And beyond the Environmental Department, this culture of sustainability is also driving CMBC and enterprise-wide projects forward. As part of our low-carbon fleet strategy and our path to zero emission, we've introduced renewable diesel and renewable natural gas as cleaner fuel options for our buses. We're transitioning more diesel buses to battery electric buses. And the construction of Marple Transit Center will have the infrastructure to support a fleet of 300 battery electric buses. These are just a few examples that illustrate how CMBC's sustainability goals have evolved as we strive to lead the way in addressing climate change. Next slide, please. So I'm going to bring it back to the maintenance division for my last slide. So here on the screen, we have Lenora Stenerson. She's a CMBC mechanic. Sanita Gupta and Elizabeth Chow from our TransLink HR team, and Margaret McGee, who's an electronics technician from BCRTC. And they were some of our fantastic representatives at BCIT event that was called Jill of All Trades, and it took place recently. It was an event for students in grade 9s to 12 to identify as female, who identify as female or maybe gender diverse, to learn more about the trades. The event was just one example of how CMBC is playing the long game when it comes to our trades pipeline. We also recently provided a student from BCIT Women in Trades program with a job shadowing opportunity and hosted an information session for BCIT's Trade Discovery for Women program. This information session was attended by 16 students who are currently participating in the program. And as for the short game, CMBC had an incredible first quarter, hiring 20 mechanics out of the 21 that we have identified as our hiring goal for 2025. Next slide, please. And this brings me to the end of my presentation. So I'm ending it with a shot of the number 6 on Davy, and noting that this summer we'll be getting ready at CMBC and across the TransLink enterprise to participate in the Pride Parade in Vancouver in August. So I'm looking forward to seeing the design of the new Pride bus as I do each year. Thank you, members of the board, Mr. Quinn, and members of the public.
Thank you very much, Randy. And I don't know, I think you might have moved up in the order here.
Good to hear.
Yeah, lots of great things happening there. Any questions for Randy in regards to what's going on at CMBC? I have one question, Randy, and that's in regards to the metric around the 90% on-time performance for HandyDART. I'm just wondering what metric that's measured against. Like how, you know, we often hear that HandyDART is slower. It's not as, you know, people can't plan as easily. And I'm just wondering how that metric is kind of created.
Okay, so HandyDART's a little bit different than the conventional system, and we all know that. So what we do as far as this metric goes is that we have scheduled pickup times. And so how we measure that 90% on-time performance, it's the pickup will be, the arrival for pickup will be no greater or no less than 15 minutes, or 15 minutes or less, and won't be 15 minutes or greater. You know what I mean? So there's a window of 15 minutes on either side, and that's how we measure the 90%.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Randy? Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to move to Chief Muir. And Chief, if you can bring us a report on transit police, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, pleased to do so, Chair Cunningham, and good morning, members of the board and everyone. I'm going to focus today on 3 key initiatives from our operations division, as well as providing important results from our community safety survey. Next slide, please. So Metro Vancouver Transit Police is reinforcing its efforts to keep youth on transit safe with the introduction of a youth liaison officer following increase in youth-related incidents. And despite reductions in overall crime on the transit system, Transit Police has seen a 43% increase in reported incidents involving youth over the past year. Our new YLO, Constable Ryan Armstrong, brings a wealth of experience as a member of Metro Vancouver Transit Police, as well as previously working as a deputy sheriff within the youth justice system. The YLO will focus on intervention, education, and collaboration with the community and policing partners to keep youth on and around the transit system safe. By engaging with young people, the focus will be to build trust and positive relationships between youth and the police, to empower them to play a role in their own safety, and to lead those at risk to a path away from criminal behavior. Next slide, please. In April 2025, the K9 Unit and Delta Police co-hosted the annual Canadian Police Canine Association Detection Dog Seminar. 23 dog teams attended from across British Columbia and Alberta, including Correctional Service of Canada and the RCMP. The seminar delivered an invaluable training environment with realistic scenarios, with the involvement of top canine trainers from across North America. And just really want to highlight and recognize our K9 team for providing outstanding leadership while strengthening partner agency collaboration. And this is a good segue into our build-up and preparations for FIFA 2026. Next slide, please. On Tuesday, May 27, 2025, Transit Police, in partnership with 9 other agencies, conducted safety inspections of commercial vehicles in the area around Scott Road Station. Over the span of 6 hours, 95 inspections were completed, resulting in 39 commercial motor vehicles taken out of service, 41 provincial violations tickets were issued, 22 notice and orders issued, 30 City of Surrey bylaw tickets issued, and 1 prohibited driver was arrested. 41% of commercial vehicles stopped for inspection needed to be taken out of service after failing to meet the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance's inspection standards. I'll note this percentage is not representative of the condition of vehicles in the commercial transport industry as a whole. Only vehicles flagged by officers trained in identifying visible or potential safety defects were pulled over for inspection. This project was based in the area around Scott Road Station due to the large amounts of commercial vehicles traveling through the area and over TransLink's Patella Bridge. Next slide, please. As of 2023, new BC provincial policing standards on promotion of unbiased policing came into effect, providing guidelines for community engagement practices. These emphasize the importance of building trust, transparency, and collaboration between police services and the communities they serve. As part of the standards, all police agencies are required to regularly gauge citizens' satisfaction with and attitudes towards their police services. In the summer 2023, Transit Police engaged the TransLink Research and Insights section on how to effectively implement a survey that would meet all of the requirements. With Transit Police Service Region covering 22 diverse communities, important consideration had to be given to ensuring representation across all municipalities in Metro Vancouver. The general approach was an online qualitative survey with the target audience being 1,500 people within Metro Vancouver who had used the transit system or had intersected with a transit police officer within the past year. Quantitative results were required to be reflective of the Metro Vancouver region, both geographically and demographically. Quotas were set for 6 demographic subgroups, including those who self-identify as Indigenous, members of the 2S LGBTQ+ community, and those living with a mental illness. The results provide important information to our leadership team, including a lower level of awareness of our text service than was expected. Next slide, please. Participants were also asked if they'd witnessed or experienced anything they believe was a crime over the past year. It's important to recognize that these may not be events that reach the threshold of a criminal offense, but that the participant believed a crime may have been committed. And what we saw in that results were 74% of participants said they had neither witnessed nor experienced any such situation. 16% of participants said they had not experienced a crime directly, but they had witnessed such event. And 6% of participants said they had experienced a crime over the past year. Of those who witnessed or experienced a crime, 17% chose to report it. However, 36% reported they knew of someone else who reported the incident to police. So 41% of people said the crime was not reported, and 6% were onshore. Next slide, please. And just looking at awareness, 87% of the participants said they were aware of transit police, and that's a 1% reduction from the results collected in a similar survey from 2011. 77% they knew that transit police was distinct from other police services. Participants were further asked about areas where the transit police were doing well. The higher scores related to helping people who required assistance, providing a visible police presence, and keeping transit safe from crime and disorder. And areas, again, where we may look to focus more is around the area of bike theft, panhandling, and vandalism and graffiti. And those survey results really support as we move into 2026 and planning for our next strategic plan. So I'll just go to next slide, please. And I welcome any questions. And thank you, Chair Cunningham.
Thank you very much, Chief Muir. Any questions for the chief in regards to her report? Lots of very interesting things going on. That was a really good survey. I think good information for you to work with, I think.
Definitely.
All right, well, seeing no questions, I think we'll move on now to item number 7 on our agenda, which is the Finance and Audit Committee Chair report. So I'm going to ask Alan Seckel to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. The committee met on the 16th of June and had a fairly busy agenda. Many of the things that we discussed or have been mentioned already or are on the agenda for this meeting, including, for example, the HandyDART delivery model review, which we'll hear about in a few moments later in this meeting. We received a report, a semi-annual report on the sustainability initiatives of TransLink. As you can consider, TransLink has an important role in creating a sustainable region and does so through its regional transportation strategy, its Access for Everyone strategy, its climate action plan, new mobility initiatives, and much of this work is done through the enterprise sustainability department that works under our CFO. That department leads the development of enterprise-wide sustainability initiatives and supports the advancement of strategies and initiatives that support TransLink in fulfilling its mission of creating a sustainable transportation network. Just to outline some of the accomplishments over the last period, in December, the board received an update on TransLink's enterprise sustainability initiatives planned for 2025. And since then, progress has been made on several key areas, including implementation of the zero emissions fleet transition plan. You heard a little bit about new buses, et cetera, earlier. Approval of the updated sustainability policy, initiation of work to revise the sustainability framework and a sustainability strategy, and then some of the internal work to develop the department vision mission and goal statement. So much is happening in that front, and TransLink is dedicated to being a big part of a sustainable region. We received a regular update on the rail expansion program. You've heard a little bit about the work that's to create the Broadway subway and the SkyTrain to Langley, Surrey. The main part of those projects, the track and guideways, etc., the tunneling, that's all provided by the province. But of course, we have some major projects that are in support of that, and you've heard a little bit about them already today. The Mark V trains that are coming into service. You heard about OMC4 and the work that's happening there. There's also work that's being done on OMC 1 and 2 and OCC 2. And then there's a project to deliver greater power infrastructure to support all of those lines. We heard about the risks and the challenges that management is having with those projects. They're addressing all the issues, including improving the oversight and governance of the projects, and are on track to deliver those projects when they're needed as those other guideways and tracks come online. You heard a little bit about safety today already, the tragic accident in Horseshoe Bay and other incidents that you might have heard of in the media. We receive a regular report on safety at the Finance Committee meeting. We received this quarter's report, which included an overview of significant incidents, what TransLink's doing in terms of its corporate safety information and its enterprise programs. And then we did a deep dive into customer self-harm and suicide prevention efforts that are active within our system. It's always it's tragic when these things happen, and TransLink's dedicated to try to improve the ability to assist people that are thinking of self-harm. We did receive a little bit of a report on the Horseshoe Bay incident, but it was very early in the investigation, and there's nothing particularly substantive about that at this stage, at least for our use. And then we received a number of reports that are part of the normal reporting to the committee. We received a report on the risk management policy that we applied and whether that required any changes. We had an annual review of compliance with statutory and regular requirements. We reviewed a list of commitments made in the last quarter that were in excess of $1 million. Talked a little bit about the liquidity of TransLink and make sure that we provide oversight with that. Did receive a report on the Broadway subway and Surrey Line Train SkyTrain work done by the province, and received a regular report on key construction projects, real estate, and the operation and maintenance of TransLink's bridges. So, Chair, those are the things that are reported here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Thanks, Alan, very much. I can attest to the fact that these committee meetings are long and full of lots of detail, and I know for those that were in attendance, they would have most of their questions answered. But if there's anything else that, any other questions from other board members for Alan? Well, seeing none, we'll move on then to the Planning, Communities and Communication Committee Chair report, and I'm going to ask Director Reimer to do this. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Chairperson. So we had 2 meetings since the last board meeting. One was the joint planning meeting that planning committee members of the board conduct with planning committee members of the Mayor's Council, and that happened on June 12th. 2 items of interest potentially to folks were the annual update, the 2025 local government funding programs update, where we received information on the status of that funding allocation. There is more demand for it than there is money, which probably doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. I think that's sort of a TransLink theme in meeting needs of people in the region. The other item is that we discussed was comparing transit fare rates across Canada's large urban regions. We don't have a presentation on it today at the board meeting, but there is a report in the consent agenda. And for those that have an interest in fare rates, it's a really useful report. Part of the challenge of comparing fare rates across Canada's large urban regions is that they are not all created the same, either size-wise or composition or topography, geography, all of these things, political structures. And so I found it was a very useful report in trying to explain the comparisons between like apples, oranges, kiwis, and pears, and how that ultimately plays out at the transit user level. For those that don't already know this, who might be listening in, TransLink, although we are not the largest population serving region, we are by far the largest area serving transit authority in Canada, so that in a major urban region. So that is creates some challenges around that fare comparison that are interesting to look at. Okay, so that was joint planning. Then we also had our board planning, communities and communication committee meeting on June 17th, which was, I think, last Tuesday. We discussed the HandyDART delivery model review project update as well, which Director Seckel just spoke to and is on this agenda coming up in a moment here. We completed our statutory requirement related to the Metro 2050 Regional Growth Strategy Amendment in the City of Delta, and you can find that on this consent agenda. We also had 6 items which were quarterly. I mean, we get them every quarter. These happen to be Q2 reports. We had government and public affairs update, Indigenous relations update. You heard some good things from that if you were tuning in for the AGM from our chairperson, Lorraine Cunningham. We had our communications and marketing update, customer experience update, board correspondence summary update, and similar to the finance committee, we also go through the key construction projects update. We did our annual review of the board communications policy, and no changes were recommended as a result of that review. And then at the request from some directors, we reviewed the various ways in which the public and stakeholders can communicate with the board. And that was it for our meetings. Chairperson, happen to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Director Reimer. Any questions for Andrea in regards to her report? So seeing none, I'm going to ask Director Chan to deliver the Human Resources and Governance Committee Chair report. Thank you, Jen.
Yes, thank you. The Human Resources and Governance Committee met on June the 17th, so last week, and we discussed several items. The first was we completed our annual review of TransLink's articles and governance manual, and you'll see in the consent portion of the agenda that we're recommending revisions to TransLink's articles. These are minor housekeeping provisions, but always important for us to clarify the language so that it remains consistent with our existing practice. We also received status reports on key initiatives, including the HR Digital Transformation Program, which, as you'll recall, involves modernizing HR technologies to enable data-driven decisions and increase efficiency on our HR matters. So the existing HR system, which has been in use for decades, is not sufficient. And so you'll recall as well that Ernst & Young's report on efficiency reviews last year identified enhancing access to workforce data as having one of the largest benefits to productivity among the various recommendations proposed in that report. So very pleased to see management taking action on that. This project is now in its second phase with the RFP for software vendors having been issued. And the key takeaway for this program is that it continues to proceed well, on schedule, and on budget. We received the People and Culture quarterly report as well, and that provides the committee with metrics to support our oversight of key human resources activities, including things related to retention, recruitment, staff development and training, as well as efforts to promote safe and inclusive workplace, including accessibility initiatives and employee resource groups. So in monitoring voluntary turnover rates, as an example of one of the items that we look to in the quarterly report, we see that this remains low relative to previous years and also under benchmark percentage for our comparable organizations. Recruitment has also been going well, including recent success hiring almost 250 transit operators in the first quarter of 2025. We've also been able to fill some important leadership roles in engineering, labor relations, and Compass programs. So lots of strong work on the human resources and governance side this past quarter.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any questions for Jen in regards to her report? Seeing none. Last but not least, I'm going to ask Director Reddies to deliver the IT Committee Chair report.
Thank you,
Tracy.
Chair Cunningham. Pleased to deliver this report. The IT committee met on June the 18th, and we had a fulsome update and discussion relating to the business technology services major IT projects. This included the bus daily operations management system, or MyWork Phase 2. We also, as Director Chan spoke about, discussed the HR digital transformation program. And we also received an update on the enterprise digital strategy and a number of other projects. I think the good news, despite a lot of work that is being done by the IT team, the major projects are tracking well. We also received a report on AI and how the organization is approaching AI adaptation. We're at an early stage of adoption, but we're laying the foundation to take advantage of the opportunities of AI while at the same time mitigating the risk. So I think there'll be many more discussions with respect to this at the IT committee and likely coming through to the board as well. But I'm pleased with how the organization, the IT organization, is approaching this very transformative technology. And with that, I think that summarizes mostly what we discussed during the committee meeting. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Are there any questions for Director Reddy's in regards to her report? All right, seeing none, we're going to move then into item number 11 on our agenda, which is the HandyDART delivery model review update. So I think, Sarah, you're taking the lead on this.
Yes, I am. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you.
The purpose of this item is to provide a status update on the work completed to date towards developing a recommendation for the future delivery of HandyDART. Next slide, please. HandyDART is a critical part of the transit system. It's TransLink's door-to-door shared ride transit service for those who, due to a disability, are unable to use the conventional system. With more than 31,000 registered customers, we work diligently alongside our service operators to get people where they need to go when they need to get there. As Randy spoke to in his presentation earlier this morning, we delivered 98% of requested trips with 90% on-time performance in Q1 of this year. We deliver over 27,000 trips per week with an extremely low percentage of trip denials. There are 346 HandyDART buses, which deliver 77% of these trips. 23% of trips are delivered by taxis, which supplement the dedicated vehicles and play a critical role in ensuring we can provide trips when people request them. And in many cases, delivering a trip by taxi can be cost effective, as the cost per trip by HandyDART bus is more than double that of a taxi. And interestingly, we provide fewer trips by taxis than other major transit systems, including Calgary, who uses taxis for about 55% of trips, and Toronto, which is sitting at nearly 30%. Further, HandyDART is one of our highest rated transit modes. HandyDART regularly scores higher on customer satisfaction than both bus and SkyTrain. 2024's score of 8.8 is one of the highest ever recorded for this service. And while the scores for HandyDART service delivered by taxi are slightly lower than the overall HandyDART service, 45% of customers prefer taxis if it means they're more likely to be on time. And we know that, like all transit customers, HandyDART customers want service that is frequent, reliable, on time, and with limited transfers. And with all transit, we are also always balancing these different objectives along with what is affordable. The 2024 Customer Service Performance Review underscored that HandyDART customers value being able to get a trip at their preferred time, and that is the most important thing. Despite these strong customer satisfaction scores, we recognize that there are always opportunities to improve service, which is why a paramount principle of this review is to examine how to better deliver service for HandyDART customers. Next slide, please. So in terms of how the HandyDART service is delivered, TransLink works with operating companies to deliver the various components that make up the service, such as processing applications, managing customer feedback, booking and dispatching trips, operating vehicles, maintaining fleet. And this practice is aligned with how we deliver transit service across the region. TransLink sets service levels, develops key policies, owns fleet, and is responsible for funding. Delivery of the service on the ground is done by an operating company. Now, there are different types of relationships with operating companies. We have wholly owned subsidiaries like Coast Mountain Bus Company or BC Rapid Transit Company, also called SkyTrain, as well as contractual relationships for services including HandyDART, Bowen Island Community Shuttle, community shuttles in Langley, and West Vancouver Transit. And for HandyDART, service delivery responsibilities are currently shared between two operating companies, Coast Mountain Bus Company and TransDev. Next slide, please. The HandyDART service delivery model review is an assessment of who delivers the service and how the service is delivered. It considers all elements from customer-facing ones like registration and trip delivery and customer feedback to back-end elements like training, fleet ownership, software hosting. We commenced this review last year. The team has been assessing industry trends and best practices, different service delivery options, and listening to our customers and interested parties about what's important. Our goal is to support informed recommendations about how we deliver HandyDART service and who delivers it in the future. This review will help us identify opportunities to continue to deliver great service while ensuring it's providing the best value for customers and for the public. Next slide, please. We've been methodical about our approach to this process. First, we defined the problem and our objectives, which included building a good understanding of the context and current trends, examining HandyDART's existing delivery model, and listening to customers, employees, advocates, and stakeholders. We also looked at how peer agencies are delivering custom transit. Next, we established a multiple account evaluation framework, again, drawing on input from engagement with a variety of interested parties. We then developed options for HandyDART's delivery model through a peer review and industry scan of best practices. Next slide, please. A multiple account evaluation, it's a standard planning tool that allows us to assess the benefits and trade-offs between options. We will use this framework to evaluate the performance of 3 different service delivery options against the different accounts. The accounts being customer experience, financial and organizational sustainability, ease of implementation, and how flexible and adaptable the model is. The framework developed for this project considers criteria that is important to customers, employees, stakeholders, the public, and TransLink. We received input from internal staff, external groups, and others in developing this framework. The goal is to develop a fulsome picture of how each service delivery option would perform against each account to support this board's, your decision of how we deliver HandyDART service moving forward. Next slide, please. Throughout the project, engaging with key stakeholder groups has been a priority to ensure all perspectives are considered. Our first round of engagement was focused on building a robust understanding of current views on the service and where there could be opportunities for improvement. And during this round, we also focused on working with stakeholder groups to build the evaluation framework. The second round of engagement sought input on 3 shortlisted delivery models: a modernized contract approach, bringing services more under to in-house operating companies, and a split structure. We made sure to bring along many key groups, including the HandyDART Users Advisory Committee, which is an established advisory committee that meets on an ongoing basis as appointed by the board, but also HandyDART service delivery staff, the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1724 and their leadership. We also engaged external stakeholders and advocates, including representatives from renal programs, seniors care, the Save Our HandyDART Coalition, day programs, and regional labor groups. To help ensure we're considering the customer perspective in this review, we also drew insights into what HandyDART customers value most through our annual customer service performance survey, as well as a survey specific to this review process. Next slide, please. What's been made clear through the initial stages of this process is that we need to think bigger, to look beyond just examining what the service delivery model should be and build a robust and holistic recommendation that will help deliver a modernized HandyDART service that our customers want and deserve. And that is why we're expanding this review. Staff will be building recommendations that endeavor to improve the customer experience, scheduling and operational efficiency through procuring state-of-the-art software. Explore opportunities to enhance the customer experience on HandyDART trips delivered by taxis. Undertake further analysis of the 3 models identified through the initial phases of the review, and explore how to optimize service outcomes across competing metrics. Staff will also undertake additional in-depth analysis to ensure consideration of the Minister of Transportation and Transit's mandate letter, which was issued after the review and engagement began. We will return to this board with a comprehensive HandyDART strategy that considers all aspects of the service and all perspectives. I will note that per the board's authorization, we will be seeking to extend the contract with Transdev to ensure service continuity for customers while the review is completed. I'm excited about the possibilities for the future of HandyDART service, and we look forward to coming back to this board with a comprehensive strategy. We absolutely remain committed to building an industry-leading, modernized custom transit service in Canada. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for your report. I just have to say personally that I know that this is for some a frustration and a disappointment that we're taking a little longer to do this work, but I fully support your recommendation to expand the fullness of the report so that we make sure we get it right. We haven't done a fulsome review like this for a number of years, and I think it's really important that we spend the time and consider all aspects of it. So I really am pleased with the recommendation that we have in front of us. Any other questions or comments in regards to the report? There's not really a resolution here for us to do, Sarah. This is more for an update for us to receive the report.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, seeing none, thank you, Sarah, and good luck in your work. I know that there's a lot of factors that you guys are working through, so I really appreciate and we'll look forward to hearing the results of all your work. So thank you. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the item number 12, which is the Fare Evasion Mitigation Program update. And this is Jeff Busby and Mark Langmead that are going to deliver this report.
Great. Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. Just want to give a brief overview of the work that we've been doing to address fare evasion, the results that we have in looking at this issue, and also the program that we've developed to make progress against our targets. Next slide, please. So going through this, I'll talk about the enforcement efforts to date, our customer education, the results of the efforts, and our next steps. But where this starts really is our measurement of fare evasion as a whole, and looking at what we see in terms of the fare revenue and what we expected to see in customer behavior. So with that, we developed a 4-part program of fare evasion management, and it focused on customer education to really make sure customers understood what passes they were eligible for so that they could purchase the correct fare for their journeys. We also looked at reviewing our fare gates and our infrastructure that we have in place. That is our fare system, our compass system. We focused on the inspection that was previously happening by transit security, transit police, and the community safety officers. And we looked at how that was being deployed, as well as how effective that was in result. And then we looked at also increasing support for low-income customers and providing support and where to go that they can get support for free or low cost passes to travel. Next slide, please. So looking at the number of inspections and comparing that over the past 4 quarters, we've assigned additional resources and hired additional transit security staff to really increase presence on the system, as well as engage with customers and ensure customers have the appropriate fare for their journey. And you can see that the number of customers checked has really increased since we began this effort in mid of last year. The next slide, please. What we have found in the results is a significant increase, actually, in the number of adult passes that are being purchased versus concession passes. So looking at the whole, we saw a marked shift with the increase in inspection efforts and the increased presence on the system on both buses and on trains to people purchasing the passes that are appropriate for their age category and category of travel. This actually translates to over 6 million, or a forecast over $6 million of additional revenue per year. Next slide, please. Looking at fare evasion and how we measure this, we're measuring this quarterly, and we're looking at this both on the bus service as well as on our rail service. And what we see here is really a marked difference between the two, and there's further differences in the details about bus type and where we measure and what time of day and location. But it really speaks to the effectiveness of the gated system that we have for fare system on our rail system as well as on our C-bus. And next slide, please. So going forward, we're going to really maintain high levels of inspections by our officers. We provide a tremendous amount of education for fare inspectors, and fare inspectors include transit police, the transit security team, as well as the community safety officers. And they're really provided with the tools and the skill to make a judgment call, to make sure that when we do fare inspection, it is done in as neutral a possible way, and also takes into considerations all of the facts before issuing a fare infraction notice, if that is the course of action. We're going to continue the public education efforts and make sure that people understand the role that fare collection plays in providing a system and services to the public, but also what is the appropriate fares, what is a concession fare, and when does that apply. We are going to conduct before and after fare evasion measurements to see that the resources and efforts that we're doing align with the results. And we're also going to provide transit police, the community safety officers, and transit security with in-depth information about the best place to use those resources. And with that, I believe that's my last slide. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark, very much for that report. I see that Director Reimer has a question. So
yeah, thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Mark, for the report. I asked a number of questions when this came to committee, so I apologize as this will be redundant, but I think it's a high enough matter of public interest, and yeah, that it should be asked in public, which is regarding the disaggregated data collection, and particularly for context, my concerns that both anecdotal evidence and academic evidence strongly points to when checks are done of people, whether it be carding or, in this case, fare checks, it doesn't just tend to, it routinely targets certain populations. And it concerns me that we've greatly increased the checks, but have no way of knowing if that's happening or not. So can you talk a bit about what the options are for collecting disaggregated data? And I apologize, I live between a hospital and a fire station, and sirens are inevitable in my life.
Yeah, thank you. We on two areas. One is in the generation of fare evasion data and how we collect that. We've actually developed a surreptitious measurement methodology that does not involve intercepting customers. It is actually done by witnessing an interaction with a tap. And we do that broadly. So we're doing that across the network, across all of our services and different times of day and days a week, and specifically to be able to provide as neutral and objective a result as possible. And what we found through the resulting measurements is that we're seeing consistency, which is really what we were hoping for, which we would expect if we're doing that correctly. With respect to inspection, the training is extensive in terms of what we provide, the tools and skills for the officers, and we are alive to those sensitivities. And so we've really encourage officers and expect officers to exercise discretion and judgment when issuing a ticket and before doing so. We provide people with free transit in extreme circumstances or exigent circumstances where it would be appropriate to do so, particularly where it's a vulnerable person or somebody that is unable to safely travel otherwise. And those are things that we continue to do. So we really emphasize that in the training.
I appreciate all those efforts. I think they've been exemplary. My concern is that we have no data to back up that they're producing the outcomes one would hope for by putting all those efforts in. So I mean, perhaps it's just not available at this point, but any information you have about what we can do around disaggregated data. I have since the committee meeting learned that the Anti-Racism Data Act doesn't cover TransLink, but I'm curious about whether we can take steps despite that.
Yeah, we will. We can take that back and look at what we can do to provide more depth of analysis. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Any other questions for Mark in regards to this? So seeing none, thank you very much, Mark. And that moves us to item number 13, which is our consent agenda. There weren't any requests to pull anything out, so I'll receive a motion to approve the consent agenda. Thank you, Alan, and a seconder. Thank you, Stephen. And all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries unanimously. And at that, we are now at the conclusion of our meeting. So can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jen. And all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that concludes our meeting for June.